We're gonna have to cut this short because fuck Arsenal, by the way. So let's go ahead and stop this because we don't need to record. Your team sucks, except you're number one in the table, but that's the point. Um, Neither here nor there. So,
Yeah.
and my team is currently battling relegation. So,
Yeah, it's a how did you become a West Ham fan?
okay. So after the last World Cup, I started really getting into soccer again.
Okay.
So my thought process was, if I'm going to pick a team, I don't want to just pick a team that everybody roots for. I'm not
Sure.
going to pick Arsenal. I'm not going to pick Man City. I'm not going to
Yeah,
pick Liverpool. Those three new was out. Manchester United also gone.
sure.
I wanted to root for either a team that had an American player that I liked, which at the time was Leeds United, who had Tyler Adams at the
Yeah.
time, and Fulham had Reeves playing
Yep.
defense for them. So it was either going to be those two teams,
Sure.
or I was born on Lakenheath Air Force Base, which is
Okay.
on the eastern end of the country, maybe about definitely less than an hour uh, from London. But the closest team in the Premier League at the time was either Tottenham or West Ham. A buddy of mine is or a buddy of mine is a Tottenham fan, and at that point, I did not want to root for a team that a friend of mine rooted for. I'd rather get with them
Yeah.
versus. Hold on, stop, stop. I'd rather talk shit with them than root for them.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so I was like, okay. I saw at that point that it was going to be West Ham v Leeds. I think it was like January 1st or January 2nd or something like that.
Sure.
And I was like, you know what? Whoever wins that match wins my loyalty.
There you go.
Then get in a 2-2 draw. Uh, so I then decided on West Ham because have you ever seen the movie Green Street Hooligans?
Absolutely, man. Yeah, I'm a huge sports fan. There's not a lot of soccer fans. So actually one of the first things I noticed about you, I think it was obviously it was in one of the podcasts, you had a West Ham hat on, and I was like, dude,
Yeah.
no, like no one other than being over in London is like a West Ham fan. So I was very,
Yeah, there's not a lot of us here in the
yeah,
States.
I was
Uh,
intrigued.
so I decided at that point, due to Green Street Hooligans, because I saw that movie when I was stationed in California.
Yeah,
It was me and a buddy of mine named Brian. We would just find nights where we would wind up at a movie theater and just pick a random movie. And we saw a bunch of weird shit those days. But one of the movies we saw was Green Street Hooligans. Uh, so yeah, we did. I was like, you know what? West Ham has my loyalty. Go Hammers! Come on, you Irons!
yeah,
And I've been depressed ever since, except for that one night in Europe where we
yeah.
took home the Europa League title. Uh, Besides that, it's been a really, really rough ride. Although there. Welcome back to another episode of First, Last, and Best. And this is not what the schedule said we were going to do. No, it's not. The schedule has been completely thrown out, torn up, ripped apart. I have no idea what I'm doing anymore. We're just shooting from the hip. Let's see what the hell happens, guys. We're back with another episode with a first time guest. Super, super excited about this. But first, let's get to the socials. We're over on TikTok, we're over on Instagram, we're over on Facebook, First, Last, and Best Podcast. You can check out my vinyl collection, song of the day, all of our reels and random stories that you can see on the podcast. Obviously, we do a little bit of music history every week. We do quotes from musicians. You can find out where you can listen to the episodes. We're over on Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon Podcast, as well as streaming on YouTube. We're actually getting our numbers up a little bit, and if we hit the triple digit mark, we'll start doing live listen and reactions. to different albums that are coming up. I already promised the guys and girls in Flying Raccoon suit that we're going to do Moonflower, and I'm really, really stoked for that. Might do Stop the Presses Got It again. Shout out to Allie and all the ladies and gentlemen at Stop the Presses. Such a great band. Go check them out. But that is not the band we're going to be discussing today. And we'll get into that in just a moment. But first, let's introduce our guest. He is a friend of a friend. We've been getting to know each other a little bit. He's an Arsenal fan, so that obviously means I should throw him out. But no, we'll keep him around. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome Brandon to the show. Brandon, welcome to First, Last, and Best. You are now officially a part of the canon. How does that make you feel?
I'm excited. I appreciate. Hopefully, I can live up to that nice intro you gave about me. But yeah, man, I'm excited.
Do you have
Well,
any experience doing podcasts, or is it just kind of
I do. So a little bit here and there.
yeah?
I think part of it is laziness. What's your? How long do you spend editing a podcast?
Honestly, I listen through maybe once or twice because
Okay.
I have a general idea. I take notes as we record to give myself a general idea of what I want to cut ahead of time.
Yeah.
And honestly, I really don't cut a lot. It's all more along the lines of making sure it sounds good and then making sure I have the intro and the outro in the right place. So honestly, it's just B-roll, intro, outro, and as long as there's not like these giant gaps or we need to take a break or something, I generally don't do a lot of editing. I'm kind of lazy in that sense, but at the same time, you don't care. So like I don't get paid for this, so I'm not gonna spend.
We're not getting paid for this? No.
No, surprisingly enough, I wish that would
uh,
be nice, but it's not gonna happen. Sorry.
yeah, no, so that's like that leads into it. So part of it is the laziness side of, whether or not how long, you spend editing a podcast. The other aspect of it is like this is fun for me talking to you. I
Yeah,
don't know if it doesn't seem like you have issues, getting guests, but like I
no,
could not do a podcast just myself talking. I tried myself crazy.
neither.
So I've done a little bit here and there, but not, consistently. It's been a while since I've done
Yeah.
any sort of podcasting. So
I
a
was
little
gonna
bit.
say doing one by myself is a challenge. I
Yeah.
don't like doing it. I wind up burning through all material in 5 minutes. Then I'm just like, all right, well, this has been fun. Let's not do this again.
Yeah.
So so having someone to talk to and bounce things off of, that's kind of what I really enjoy. So we're actually going to start a little bit differently because this is a very short since Brandon is a new guest to the podcast, we gotta get to know him a little bit. So let's start off with our new co-host questionnaire. Although at the moment it only burns down to 3 questions. The first question is this: Brandon, what have you been listening to lately?
Yeah. Been listening to all kinds of different stuff.
Mhm.
Obviously the band we're covering today, I went through, listened to the whole discography
Nice.
multiple times. I just saw Five Iron in the pie.
In Richmond?
Yeah, I just saw them.
Yeah.
So a lot of Five Iron. And then there's a new metalcore band called Era. Just dropped a new record. I don't know if you're familiar with them.
No, I'm not.
Incredible. The guy, the band is super tight, but specifically their guitar player is just out of this world.
Oh,
Uh,
nice.
so that's kind of been what I've been listening to, but it's all over the place.
All over the place.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah.
I was gonna say I was gonna go to Five Iron and then I didn't. I don't remember why. I think I had to work.
Yeah, I
Um,
almost thought I
oh
was
my god.
expecting to bump into people that I knew there. Which I'll divulge this too. The friend of the friend, I kind of grew up with Jeff, if you will. Actually, full circle here. The first time I ever met Jeff, it was probably 2003, 2004. His band opened up for Roper. I don't know if you ever listened to Roper. It was
I
the
don't think I have.
that was once Five Iron broke up, the lead singer Reese Roper
Yeah.
started. So they opened up for Roper at a church in Virginia Beach. And funny enough, I obviously didn't know who Sons of Noah was, but they Jeff was wearing a TCC shirt, right?
Yeah.
And my dad took me. I was 12 years old. My dad took me, and he goes, "Hey, are these guys local?" And I was like, I have no idea. And that was the first time it ever occurred to me that like I could do this. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And just because, as a local band, my dad was like, "Hey, we should pick up the CD." So I remember, being super shy, walking over and saying something to him. And then, you know, in passing, just seeing him over the years, that's kind of how I ended up meeting Jeff.
I
Uh,
got you.
but yeah.
That's awesome. That's a good thank you, Brandon, for sharing that. Um, what is the best concert you've ever been to? I know that could be a bit of a
Oh,
challenge to pick one, but what do you think the best concert you've ever been to? Or you can give us a few, whatever you want.
so this is shout out to my wife. In November, she let me go see Paul McCartney. I'm a huge Beatles fan, and
That's awesome.
the closest he came here, and I didn't have work, the day of the concert or the day after, so obviously I didn't have to worry about taking off. But he did a double night in Atlanta, and so I flew there, and being a massive Beatle fan, I think he's 84 years old, so
Yeah,
like obviously, hopefully he stays around for a while longer, but the touring aspect is going to
it's
just,
hard.
yeah, it's so, and this is the thing, man. He played for 2.5 hours, and which blew my mind. Everything was so well thought out, so well rehearsed. They had when he played "I Got a Feeling" for
Yeah.
John Lennon's part, like they threw that on the screen, and so John Lennon's singing. They did I don't know if you heard that AI song they did a year or two ago, Now and Then, like with
Yes.
all the voices and everything.
Yep.
They had that obviously when John Lennon's part came on. I mean, it's like
Yeah.
goosebumps. So since that's the first one that kind of popped up, I'm gonna say Paul McCartney.
Nice.
But yeah, I like always wanted to see him. Realize that I don't know how much longer he's going to be touring.
That's true.
So I had said something to my wife. She, was totally cool. Like she gets it. She understands music is a big part of my life. So she let me go. So uh,
Nice.
yeah.
I saw Billy Joel a few years back, and oh my God, dude. He played, I think, for like 2.5, 3 hours.
Yeah.
And it was like insane how good he was. Like even in his 70s, how good he is. That was phenomenal. So
Yeah. And it's like for anybody watching, there's no faking it. You can like Paul McCartney moved around one song, and it was almost kind of funny. The next song, you could tell like he just doesn't move around on stage. He was out of breath like the entire next song. And then after the song was over, he was like, "I'm not moving the rest of the like." He still,
I'm just gonna say, hey guys, it's fine. It's
yeah,
fine. If you want
hilarious.
me to sing,
Yeah,
don't think I'm gonna move around anymore. I'm not. It's not happening.
yeah.
Um,
So I mean, that's one of those like I'll never forget that. It was an incredible experience.
I bet that's like one of those like once in a lifetime. You're never sure if you're gonna get a chance to do this again. Gotta do it. So
Yeah.
you never dog. Yeah, right. All right. This might be the most important question I will ever ask you. All right. Who is your favorite Muppet?
Oh man.
Can't help it.
So
It's becoming a crutch on the show. It really is.
yeah. So I was like the two questions I was slightly I wouldn't say worried about, but I was like, I gotta make sure I'm, on my P's and Q's here was making sure I had a legit top three. And then like I've obviously noticed, the Muppet questions. And I'm setting that up because like we're probably not even 5 minutes into this. I'm probably already going to piss you off. So
Oh
I
God, you don't
am
like the Muppets, do you?
no. It's
Okay.
not that I don't like the Muppets. I am not very familiar with the Muppets.
Okay.
So I remember the Treasure Island one with Tim Curry, and I
Great.
liked it, right.
Great
I
movie.
just never followed through. My wife and my wife's family are actually big Muppet fans.
Yeah.
So like when we went to Disney years ago after we were married, I used to, I don't know if you've ever been to Disney, but I would completely skip over the Muppets part because I just wasn't, super familiar with it. And then
Okay.
obviously once we got married, she corrected that.
Yeah, of
Um,
course.
so I like,
As she should.
and I'll say this too. Hopefully this doesn't ruin this interview. So my job, everybody says, not everybody, there's multiple people that say I sound like Kermit the Frog, to the point where like that's my nickname at work. They give me like Kermit the Frog plushes. Every meme, I don't know if you're an NFL football fan, every meme
Yeah.
you've seen about Patrick Mahomes, I have,
Oh,
yeah, I have in my personal text chain. So in that sense, I guess Kermit's my favorite, right?
I'll take it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Everyone's entitled to their opinion, even if it's wrong. So,
yeah.
uh, but yes, I am an NFL fan. May I ask who your team is? I'm just curious.
Yeah, it's Washington. I mean,
Okay,
that's
that
yeah,
makes sense.
yeah.
So, I'm a Jets fan. Once
A
again,
Jets?
I'm from New
Wow.
York originally.
Okay.
So, my
Once
brother and I split up teams when we were kids. He was a Mets and Giants fan. I'm a Yankees and Jets fan. Uh, and the Jets are a laughing stock, and I don't know why I keep rooting for them, but I do. So
I
it's
mean,
it's
Washington's right there too.
yeah. Honestly, if I am going to ever bail on the Jets, I have it narrowed down to two teams. The Philadelphia Eagles, just because they the amount of work that they do and the kind of work they do with the autism community is honestly, I at the very least respect them for it and everything
Absolutely.
that they do, even if Philadelphia fans are just kind of the worst. Um, the other team I think about is the Bears because I've only been there once, but I love the city of Chicago.
Oh,
Uh, Wrigley Field is easily one of the best baseball stadiums I've ever been to in my entire life. Uh, I love it. It's fantastic. Their pizza
I'm
is great, even though it's not as good as New York pizza. Uh, oh my god, dude, an Italian beef at freaking in Chicago is next fucking level.
it's so good. So do you watch The Bear?
Yeah, oh, that show is fantastic. I love that
So
show.
my wife and I are 2 seasons through. I've been to Chicago, she hasn't. So like the entire time we've been watching, I'm like, we should go to Chicago
You
because that's
should.
all I think about. Yeah, I'm with you on that. I love Chicago.
Just so if I were to bail on the Jets, most likely I would start rooting for the Bears.
Yeah.
Uh, Also, like when I started getting the hockey again, it was the Blackhawks who kind of pulled me back in because I love Duncan Keith. That dude was a menace, and the fact that he took a puck to the face, lost a good number of his teeth, got stitched up, and then ran back out on the ice so he can complete the game. It's just dude was next level. So I'm a bit of a Blackhawks fan. I'm more of a Rangers fan, just obviously New York from there. So I kind of have to.
Yeah,
But Chicago is definitely it's a hell of a city, and honestly, they've got some great sports teams. Um,
absolutely.
but let us get into the actual band. Otherwise, we're just going to be talking sports and food all night, which I'm not exactly opposed to, but at the same time, we do have to keep at least somewhat on topic. And uh, you sent me your list, and there were two bands that I kind of zeroed in on, and this was definitely one of them, and one that I was actually pretty excited about, and that's A Day to Remember. How exactly did you get into them? When did you discover A Day to Remember?
So my best friend William, who actually uh played, like he was in a side project with Jeff. It's another, Jeff thing.
Yeah.
Uh, but they so he was one of those guys who was always ahead of the curve with bands.
Hmm.
And so he this was when their technically second album was out, right? And so he was like, "Hey, man, you gotta check this band out." At the time, um, I was snobby, for lack of a better term. And like, I think heavy music is a little bit, you can disagree with me. I think it's a little bit of an acquired taste. And I say that similar to coffee or maybe even alcohol, is that if you like it the first time you're into it, and when I say heavy music, I mean specifically like the distorted vocals.
Yeah.
If you like that the first time you hear it, maybe there's something wrong with you. So it was definitely a snobby thing. It was also, for me, it was a loyalty thing. When I was that age, you know, probably 15, 16, it was punk rock or nothing else. It was punk rock and ska, and that was it. So anything that had distorted vocals, I was like, absolutely not. So he showed me, their second record, which that was the one that has, a plot to bomb the Panhandle. There's a ton
Those
of
who have heart.
yeah, ton of
Great
good
album.
stuff, ton of good stuff on that record. Danger and Starting a Fire,
Mm.
Shot in the Dark. But anyways, so he showed me that, and within 30 seconds, because there's heavy vocals, I was like, nope, not for me. Wrote it off, right? So then when they re-released it and they had the Since You've Been Gone cover on it,
Yeah.
I was like, yo, this is obviously it's a cover song, kind of similar to what Newfound Glory was doing. Is it is a cover song, but they totally made it their own. You almost
Yeah.
wouldn't know it's a cover song if you had never heard it.
Yeah.
And so when I listened to that, there's really only one heavy part, if you will, in terms of vocals. So I was like, this is cool. So still never gave them a chance. And then him and I, we walked into Hot Topic. This shows you how long ago this was. And they were playing Homesick on the stereo when you walked in, and it was I'm I'm pretty sure it was If It Means a Lot. And he
Great song.
goes, yeah, he goes, hey, this is a new A Day to Remember. And I was like, what? This is A Day to Remember? Because it was so contrary to the 30
Yeah.
second clips I had heard before. So from that standpoint, I ended up giving it a chance, and then immediately fell in love with the band. Um, I actually think they're them, and probably I would say Under Oath, Thrice, Emery. It's a great like first gateway drug, if you will, into heavy music, because it does have those distorted vocals, but it also has the cleans. And like A Day to Remember, they can write courses for days. Like their
That's
music,
true.
it's so catchy. So
Absolutely.
that was how I got into the band.
I was gonna say I love Jeremy vocals, and you're right. The growling, the screaming, the like, it does take some getting used to, and it is an acquired taste. It is something that I picked up very early. Uh, like because when I was stationed in California, I got into like Kill Switch Engage. I got into Bleeding Through. So I
Yeah.
I started really getting into those bands, and it was when I moved back here, me and a buddy of mine took a field trip up to Philadelphia, and uh, we would doesn't matter why we went up there, but at that point I had never heard of A Day to Remember.
Yeah.
Uh, but he pulled out For Those Who Have Heart and put it in, and he like this was my like musical guru. For those who have been long-term fans of the show, Joey King, former co-host of the show, uh, who was my musical guru, my Mr. Miyagi, who my Daniel San, when it came to music. He introduced me to Newfound Glory. He introduced me to the Ataris. He introduced me to any number of bands when we were in high school. So when I came back and we were driving to Philly, he's like, "You got to listen to this one CD." Popped it in, and I was like, "Okay, okay." And the more I listen, the more I'm like, okay, I'm down with this. This is fantastic. So I will say after what separates me from you, I kind of started falling off a little. Uh,
Same.
but
Same.
I will say this. I Today was the first time I listened to the Big Ol' Album Volume 1. like all the
So,
way through.
so good.
Like I heard Miracle and I heard a couple other songs, but this was the first time I listened to the album, truly listened to it all the way through from front to back.
Yeah.
And I love that Jeremy cleaned up his vocals. Like it's not nearly as much screaming, it's not nearly as much growling as he used to do or still does in some songs. It really feels like he's leaning more into that clean, like absolutely embracing the sound of his voice when he sings,
Yeah.
which I love because Jeremy has a very good voice.
It
So
does.
I'm glad that he's embracing that. That really makes me happy because doing like the growling, screaming to her, like it can wreck your vocals, especially if you're not doing it correctly.
Yep.
So I am glad he probably knows how to do all that. But at the same time, I'm glad that he's kind of leaning more towards that clean, more natural sounding vocal styling and these last couple records because it'll definitely save his voice later on. But at the same time, it's he's just got a good voice. He
He it
does.
it blows me away. He's a prime example. There's several other people in the genre, if you will, that do it.
Yeah.
I just can't believe that they're able to see because like the traditional old school like metalcore was you would have a heavy or distorted vocal singer and then you would have a clean singer, right?
Yes.
And
Unrest did that.
yep. So Under Oath is a prime example of that.
Yeah.
So even Emery did that. There's a lot of bands that did that, but
Yeah.
like the fact that he can do it, and I don't know if you've ever seen them live. I just saw them last fall, and I could not believe like he sounds great live.
Yeah.
You never know. Like of course bands do these 30, 40 city tours back to back to back. Like it's gonna wear on your voice.
Yeah,
Couldn't tell at
absolutely.
all. Yeah.
No. So I've seen them a handful of times. The first time I saw them was at Warped Tour '08. I think I was 24. Maybe it was Warped Tour '08 or '09. I don't remember. But like at that point, I'm in my mid 20s. I still think I can hang with everyone. Like no one, get out of my way. I'm going to the pit. Let me push people around.
Yeah.
And they came on stage and they kick off how they always kick off, or how they always kicked off before, and that's Downfall of Us All.
Yeah.
So they start going into it. I start making my way to the pit, and as soon as they started, dun, 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 and I see like the pit just explode. I just stopped and I was like, maybe I'm getting too old for this shit. And I turned around and walked back to my friends.
Yeah.
Uh, but that and probably the most memorable time I saw them, uh, it was it was actually Newfound Glory, The Day to Remember, 4 Years Strong, and Crime and Stereo.
Yeah, that was the famous tour where there was supposedly the beef, if you will.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but dude, that was a hell of a gig. That was a great show and a great lineup. And just also, technically, it was five bands because International Superheroes of Hardcore were there as well. Uh, the,
Yeah.
but that was a fun night, dude. Seeing them live, they know how to bring it live.
Oh,
They
for
know
sure.
what their fans want.
Yeah.
They know how to bring it. It's they're just one of those bands. And I love the videos from when we were young. I think it was like last year, year before, when they played "I'm Made of Wax, Larry. What are you made out of?" And the
Yeah.
singer from The Devil Wears Prada comes out to do
I
the
saw
back
it.
and
It's pretty
forth.
thick, dude.
It really is, and like it is an acquired taste.
Yeah.
Not everybody likes the screamy screams,
Yeah.
but like A Day to Remember, Devil Wears Prada. I mean, those are some bands that you very much like you said, more of like an entryway into like the metalcore screamy screams. You may like this actually. So
Yeah, that's like I mean there's a lot. I have a reaction to a lot of what you said. So, which I'm not trying to derail here, but they like one thing that I will give them a lot of credit for, and especially in retrospective, because I don't know if I necessarily noticed this at the time. When Homesick came out specifically, it changed the entire scene. The amount of bands that came out after Homesick came out
Oh
tried
yes.
to do what A Day to Remember did. I remember going to a local show in Virginia Beach, and it was one of those like church shows. There's like 20 bands playing, and I literally saw two different bands play Downfall for Us All, and every other song they played sounded like A Day to Remember, and
Yeah.
they were playing A Day to Remember in between bands. And then
Yeah.
you even look at some of the like the bigger bands nowadays, like Beartooth, Bad Omens, some of the
Yeah.
heavier punk bands, Story So Far, Neck Deep, Knuckle Puck, like all those bands, if you listen to them, you can tell where they got their influence from.
That's true. I will say there are definitely bands that came before A Day to Remember that kind of set the table.
For sure.
Receiving End of Sirens is one.
Yep.
Obviously, Under Oath. Like there were definitely bands that set the table, but A Day to Remember seemed to get there, take the baton and just push it further than any of those bands were able to. Which
Yeah.
I love that for them. That
Yeah.
they were able to make that work so well
I
because
think
they're insanely talented guys. So
absolutely. I think if you were just to say there's a band that's going to come out that sounds like Blink 182 and Hatebreed or whatever hardcore band you want to say
yeah,
and combine them and be like they're essentially going to have zero radio play and they're going to sell millions of records. They're going to have gold albums. When I saw them last year up here in Northern Virginia, the venue they played was 25,000 people, and they didn't sell it out, but I would say there was probably 18 to 20,000 people there, which is insane, dude, for a band, a MySpace band essentially. Um,
basically. I mean,
yeah,
that's how they came up. And I honestly don't think I've ever heard any of their songs on the radio. It's just like, hey, you know what? No, I sort of take it back because for one reason or the other, and like you said, like you heard that one song at Hot Topic. I used to work at Sonic in like uh the late noughts, and they would play that song over the radio. And I was like, okay, why are they playing A Day to Remember? I'm okay with it, but at the same time, why are they playing A Day to Remember? So, I mean, it became one of those bands that you heard occasionally, but a lot of it was word of mouth and online. That's how you learned about like a lot of
yeah.
these newer bands. So I mean,
It
it's
was it was crazy. Like that was crazy too because, like you said, you saw them at Warped Tour in '08. When you saw them, did they have production at all?
no,
See, like, so that's where I'm going with this is I saw them probably similar time frame. And then when I saw them last year, it was the tour that was, the Wonder Years, them and Yellow Card. And the production that they had, it's insane. From just see this band, small band at Warped Tour go, and then they're
yeah,
essentially like a arena band. It was
yeah. That show was the same day as the day I went to Supernova because I wanted to go to that show so bad
yeah,
because having A Day to Remember and the Wonder Years on the same bill, because
yeah,
the Wonder Years put on a hell of a show.
yeah,
So I saw them at the Norba a couple of years ago, and oh, they crushed it. And they just came. They didn't come through Virginia. Like I think they played maybe Baltimore, DC, skipped over Virginia. They played in Raleigh and Charlotte, North Carolina. And the
yeah.
entire time I'm just standing here, like, because they were playing No Closer to Heaven front to back. So I was like, look, guys, stop here. I want to see this.
Yeah.
So
Maybe they'll
but
do another. Maybe they'll do another leg.
I hope so,
Yeah.
because if they don't stop in Norfolk or Richmond, or I'll travel to a
Yeah.
degree. I mean, maybe not because in all honesty, all right, I got to be honest about something. I was supposed to go to Dropkick Murphys last night. They are my favorite band of all time. I love them to death, but I've basically been working every day except for one for the last like 2 weeks, and the thought of working all day yesterday and then coming home, having to change, then drive to Norfolk, go to a concert, stay out entirely too late, not get home till like probably like 12:30, then to wake up and get my son ready for school and to go to work. I was like, I'm 41. Do I really have to put myself through this?
Yeah, I get it. You
And
grind it, man.
I probably would have spent like $120 on merch and like between them, Haywire, Agrolites, I would have dropped some serious coin on merch. And I do I really need to do that? Maybe I need to do the smart thing and take some ibuprofen and go to bed. So get a good night's sleep and go to work the following morning.
Yeah,
So
adulting, man.
adulting sucks, bro.
If it makes you feel any better, I do have I have a Dropkick Murphy slash Death Wish coffee banner back here. I should have probably had that more front and center for you, and then
That's fine. It's all right. I was just gonna say I saw that it popped up on my memories on Facebook the other day where I had posted like because they had this coffee mug. This
I have it.
do you
Yeah,
really?
yeah,
Fuck
yeah,
you. But I
yeah,
saw it and I was like, I'm gonna buy that. And then I saw the price and I was like, never mind, I'm fine. Do I
yeah.
really need the coffee mug that badly? I have enough coffee mugs right now. It's fine. I don't need
Yeah. So they when I saw them, oh man, I've seen them a bunch too.
it.
I saw them in Baltimore,
Nice.
and they were selling it there at the
Yeah.
venue, and it was they have that foundation.
Glad
Um,
to fund.
yeah, yeah. I didn't want to butcher the name and sound like an idiot, but I know, yeah, I know what it was. So they were selling it, and of course, like I was like, it goes towards a good cause. I'm a coffee fanatic. I love Dropkick, so I splurged a little bit there. I think
Nice.
it's like $30 or something, which I know that's
Yeah.
a lot for a coffee mug, but yeah, yeah,
Well,
like
you're not gonna go. I mean, you can talk yourself into just about buying anything. I mean, you spend
yeah.
$80
I
on a
mean,
fucking hoodie, so
yeah, that's what I mean. It's like spend $30 on a mug or spend $50 on a shirt. Like,
yeah. Like
so
I saw Real Big Fish say it was like $75 for a Hawaiian shirt, and I almost bought it. I
yeah.
kind of regret not buying it. Maybe one day. But all right, let's actually get into discussing the album since that is the concept of the show after all, first, last, and best. And so let's kind of start with for not for those who have heart, that was their second. Technically, it's their second album, although there is quite a bit from. And then their name was Treason. Appears both on this album and on For Those Who Have Heart. Uh, but I thought like this album was good and a good maybe launching point for them,
Mhm.
but it, it's a lot of growly, scream. Uh, so there's obviously a second glance. Was a good song. I really like that. Casablanca, anyways, good song. Uh, you should have killed me when you had the chance. That song is phenomenal. I felt like they cleaned it up and made it a little tighter on For Those Who Have Heart, but the fact that this song felt like the real kind of launching point for them of who they actually are and embracing kind of like the metalcore, but at the same time having those pop punk roots.
Yeah.
You could see it a lot more in this song. Also, they did that freaking usual uh 2000s band where we have to have like a creepy kind of intro with Donnie Darko laced on top of it. And
That what
you
it
know,
is? I didn't even
yeah,
realize that. Yeah.
yeah. I listen when I was listening to it today, I heard it and I heard the voice and I was like, what is that from? What is that? Holy shit, it's Donnie Darko.
Yeah.
It's the fucking rabbit from Donnie Darko.
Yeah.
So it took me a minute to figure it out, but yeah. Uh
Did you did you
good.
ever listen to because which uh obviously they had like they were essentially the band that brought down Victory Records, which is a whole nother you could make a whole nother episode about that. But
Oh, victory.
did you ever listen to I had the version that was called Old Record.
Yep.
So what's interesting about it is I listened to it, and of course I just revisited it before this episode, but I was listening to it and I was like, you can see it has its moments, but like for the most part, I was like, this just sounds crappy, for lack of a better term.
Yeah.
And I didn't know, I was doing research before this. I didn't realize that Victory, the president, told A Day to Remember when they re-released it that they had 2 days to record the whole album again, or he was going to ruin their career. Is specifically what Jeremy said.
Oh,
So
Lord.
once I heard that, I went back and listened to like the actual version, and I was like,
Yeah.
"Oh, it's a night and day difference."
It is. It
Um,
really is. I mean, on old record, it's rough, man. Because I
and
pulled that up first and I listened to it, and then I listened for those who have heart. And you can just tell the production quality and just like what they're because it felt like they sped through it on old record.
I mean, I guess if you only had 2 days to record the whole album, I guess that explains it. But
Yeah.
it's so the other interesting thing I'll point out is A Day to Remember. Like they get all the stick from all the longtime fans that they're not heavy anymore, and whatever. So interestingly enough, you had me at Hello is basically straight acoustic.
Yeah.
So like it's interesting to kind of have that point of view of like you could take that song and compare it to some of the ballads that they have now. It's not left of center, if you will. You know what I
No,
mean? So they've always had that kind of in their repertoire, if you will.
it's true. I do like that about them. And for the people who continue to say, oh, they're not heavy anymore, they're not heavy anymore, they're not heavy, what happens?
Yeah,
Bands have to grow. If they don't grow, they become stagnant and they become Newfound Glory. And no offense to Newfound Glory, I love Newfound Glory. And honestly, their new record slaps.
it
But at
does.
the same time, if you don't try to grow, and they did, and they caught a lot of flack from people coming home, which kind of sucks. And I think that really stifled them and kind of set them off on a bad path. Um, but if you don't let your favorite bands grow and let them follow the path that they need to follow to create music, then you never know. You might be missing out on some like if the Wonder Years had stayed exactly like they were at the Upsides, which don't get me wrong, it's a good album and it's a great pop punk album. But if Dan Campbell never grew, if he never tried to stretch out and do different things, you wouldn't have songs like having an album like Burst and Decay. You wouldn't have songs like You're the Reason I Don't Want the World to End, which brings me to tears every single time I listen to it. I just it's you need to let bands grow and to
I
discover what their passion is for music.
I'm 100% with you. It's so like not derailing from A Day to Remember. Perfect example with because I'm a big Wonder Years fan as well. The album Sister Cities, which it's probably my least favorite, right? But like there are some great tracks on that, and people just like I actually think Raining in Kyoto is one of their better songs. I
Great
absolutely
song.
love that song.
They
Um,
crushed it
but
live.
yeah, but they hardly ever touch it because obviously they have a lot of great music, but like
Yeah.
the one time I saw them actually play Sister Cities, like people were like, go back to the other stuff, so it's just
Yeah.
like of course that's gonna wear on a band, right?
I think Sister Cities, if you gave that album to any other band, it would be top three. The fact that the Wonder Years put it out
Sure.
and they have such great music before and after, it's really very hard to say that is one of their better pieces of work. Although I will say Raining in Kyoto is a great song.
No.
The Ocean Grew Hands to Hold Me, which I do like the version on Burst and Decay a little bit better, but that is another fantastic song.
Yep.
So it's to say it's your least favorite Wonder Years album, that's not saying it's a bad album. It's
No.
literally saying you have to go up against Suburbia. You have to go up against The Hum Goes On Forever. You have to go up against The Greatest Generation. Sorry, it's not going to crack the top three. So,
Absolutely.
at least in my opinion.
Yep.
But this always fucking happens. I dissolve every episode into either talking about the Muppets or talking about the Wonder Years. Um,
It's a good band, man.
they're fucking a, yes, they are. So, but like I said, transition back to Her Name Was Treason. It's a good album. I don't think it makes a top three albums list for them. Um, but being their first full length, it's solid, and it definitely got their foot in the door and got them the opportunity to make For Those Who Have Heart, which was a step up. Then it gave them the opportunity to do Homesick, and then
Yeah.
and then it just kind of rose from there, and especially Homesick really pushed them to a different level because it is a very good to great album.
Yeah. I'll be the first one to tell you that, like I said, you can see the potential there on this album. There's not a lot that I revisit on this album because if I'm going to spend the time to listen to A Day to Remember, there's 50 other songs that I like better, if you will.
That's
But
true.
that doesn't mean it's unlistenable.
No, no, it's not. It's very listenable, but at the same time, if I'm gonna go back and actually put on an album and actually listen to it front to back, it's gonna be probably For Those Who Have Heart. It's gonna be Homesick. It's gonna be probably What Separates Me From You. So, which let's transition that to talking about their latest release and what got like hardcore fans up in a tizzy, and that is the Big Ol' Album Volume One. I am looking forward to Volume Two when that comes out, but I will say this: when we were talking earlier about Jeremy's vocals, this album was really that the album that put that thought in my head because I went from and Their Name Was Treason. Then I went to because it's how I do things. I start with the first, then I go to the last because I really want to see that dynamic change in how the band put music together. And there's not a lot of bands that do it way differently than what A Day to Remember did. So seeing that kind of large leap in growth to how they write and how they perform and how they play on this album was a bit jarring, but at the
Yep.
same time, I loved it. I thought it was really a really well put together album.
Yes. So uh first of all, other than maybe like the White Album from the Beatles, I am not a fan of double albums at all. And
Mhm.
that's just because maybe it's just because I'm old and I listen to so much music. It's so much to digest. So I'm glad they dropped a 12 song record as opposed to, let's say, 24 songs or, you know what I mean? That's just so much to
That's
digest.
there's so much there to listen
Yeah.
to that it really will drive you crazy.
Yeah. So I was glad to hear that. I'm interested to see if Volume Two is in the same vein or if it's completely different. Um, I'm also glad, like the one album to me that it still has great songs on it, but it is unlistenable was Welcome Home. So I think that kind of uh, or excuse me, not Welcome Home. You're Welcome.
Yeah.
Not Welcome Home. That's the Coheed song. You're Welcome.
Yes.
The I'm glad that the the topic of conversation doesn't go from the first album to uh, like I said, You're Welcome, because You're Welcome, that to me was them like just throwing darts at a board. Like there's songs on there that are like EDM. There's songs that are there that are rap. They still had some heavy songs on there. They still had some punk rock songs on there. So there is some good stuff on there. The Big Old Album to me is like, hey, we tried this. It didn't really work, or maybe we didn't like the way it went. Let's go back to basics. Go back to what we are. Some of the stuff on this is like I intentionally, when bands start releasing singles on YouTube or
Yeah.
whatever, however they release it. If it's a band I really like A Day to Remember, I will usually listen to the first song, and then if they announce when the album comes out, I intentionally don't listen to anything else because I like to listen to the whole album. And I look at it as like no one wants to open up Christmas presents before Christmas, right?
Makes
So
sense.
I
Maybe
had,
one present on Christmas Eve, but that's it.
yeah, I had heard and read so many negative things about the album that I went into it thinking it was going to be, like
You're
You're
welcome,
Welcome
part two.
Part Two, and so my expectations were super low. And the second I got it and started playing it, I was like, I genuinely, it felt like a return to form. There's stuff on there that like music a lot of times it takes a little time to grow on you, like songs like all my friends. The first time I heard it, it's like this is the catchiest thing he's ever written, right?
Yes.
um and they did a good job of, it has the punk stuff on there, it has the metal stuff on there. The album, like you said, flows very, very well. Hopefully, part two kind of lives up to it. They did this when You're Welcome came out. I don't even know if they toured off of it, but they did it an acoustic EP. I don't know if you ever heard it,
I
but
don't
it
think I have.
it reminded me of when Mike Herrera did Tumbledown. And I didn't go, but a guy I work with went to it and he showed me
Love it.
videos. I could not believe how
Tumble Down is
good.
great.
Yeah, I couldn't believe how good they sounded acoustic, especially like again, Jeremy has a
Yeah.
great voice. So I'm interested, maybe part two is an acoustic album. Like, they haven't really said.
Oh, that'd be
Um,
fun. I
but
would
I'm
love
I'm
that.
interested to see if it's similar vein and they just have that much music sitting around. Um,
I I'm stoked for it. I really am because I think I gave You're Welcome a shot. I'm pretty sure I listened to it one time, and I don't even think I made it all the way through.
it's rough. It is
Like
rough.
this is very similar to the Good Charlotte episode I did with my wife, where when we originally recorded, the last album they did was Generation RX, and my wife and I hated it. So, but we ended up I forgot what happened, but the actual recording like was really messed up and we kept putting it off. But then they put out Motel Ducat. And if you're a good Charlotte fan and you listen to that, it is very much like a crew retrospective of their like everything that they've done. So it was such a great listen that we were very, very happy to be able to talk about it and not have to mention the other at all, except in
Yeah,
passing, saying like it sucked. So,
yeah,
so this is like one of those times where it's like, I'm glad we're not talking about You're Welcome.
yeah,
I'm glad we could talk about this because this album, like you said, return to form. There's, but at the same time, going from listening to that first album to listening to this and just like the growth that they've shown and you can fail, you can fall on your face a little bit and realize that what you did not exactly work. It's less for your fans but at the same time for you. I mean, if you can look at it and be like, you know what, maybe this wasn't exactly who we are as musicians, it's good that we gave it a try, but maybe let's not necessarily go back to the comfort zone, but maybe kind of start steering in that direction a little bit just to see like how that sounds. And in all honesty, I'm glad they did because this album was very good. I really enjoyed it. So I'm glad I listened to it full through today because All My Friends is a great song. Although it does feel like more of like something if I was in my early 20s, I would be like, yo, this song is it slaps. This is me and my friends,
yeah,
Now I'm in my 40s and I'm like, this is probably some people out there, but it's not me. Uh, I Miracle being that first single was a great song. I loved Closer Than You Think. I think thought that was a great way to close the
phenomenal.
album.
Yep.
Uh, make it make sense to start the album. Honestly, it was great to listen to front to back. I
Yep.
actually really enjoyed it. So people want to complain that it's not heavy anymore. You're right, it's not that heavy anymore. But at the same time, this is who A Day to Remember is right now. Enjoy it. If you don't enjoy it, okay, don't listen. Sorry.
Yeah.
That's the
I mean,
beauty of music. You don't like it, don't listen.
yeah, there's definitely, it's funny because the one song that I heard so much negative feedback, and if you want to get like a laugh, if you go through YouTube and look at the comments on the music video for ironically feedback.
Yeah,
People hate that song, and I'm not going to say it's my favorite because they use the term butt rock is what everybody says. I'll be honest with you, I think that song is so catchy. I think the breakdown rips on that song. It flows with the album. But the funny thing was is Jeremy actually had to come out and basically make a statement because a lot of the fans thought it was basically a middle finger to them. Like everybody complaining that they're not heavy anymore. And he was like, no, it's about, someone in the record industry, probably about Victory Records again. But
probably.
yeah, it's, it's a great album.
It is. So, which leads us to what we think their best album is. And Brandon, I will let you kick this off.
Sure.
What, in your opinion, is A Day to Remember's best album?
So I'm gonna tell you what I think their best album today is. And I say that to me, they went on a, a 3 album run that I legitimately, any one of these 3 albums on any given day could be my favorite. It started with Homesick, went to What Separates Me From You, and then Common Courtesy is a sleeper, dude. There's so many great tracks on that record. Um, Obviously, we kind of touched on all the other albums. There's great songs on every album. Those to me are the 3 that I can play back to back to back, and there's no skips for me. There's a lot of content there. I know I mentioned that I think Homesick specifically changed the game of
Agreed.
the genre, especially I call it the pop mosh, if you will. I mean, I listed some. There's several other bands that like they just copied that style. Again, maybe A Day to Remember wasn't the first one to do it, but they kind of perfected it, if you will. Um,
They definitely stepped it up.
so even though I think Homesick is like the one that changed the game, I think if you were to poll A Day to Remember fans, I think 90% of them say it's Homesick. But for me, the one that I'm going to go with is What Separates Me From You.
Great
Um,
album.
so with that, Homesick was the one that kind of, if you will, opened the door for me, especially being primarily a punk rock kid. That album it's 10 tracks. It's roughly 30 minutes. So there is like no fat on that album whatsoever. And there's what I would say is 3 heavy songs, if you will. So like especially coming from that punk ground background, and you can tell Chad Gilbert from Newfound Glory produced that.
Yeah,
His fingerprints are definitely on that album. Like you can tell that
absolutely.
the punk rock easy core is on there. The 3 heavy songs that are on there, they all have great breakdowns. They all have memorable breakdowns.
Yeah.
They usually play, especially Sticks and Bricks and then Second Sucks. They usually play those live. They slap live. Um, so I'm definitely going to say What Separates Me From You. It was also this. This will bleed into my top 3 a little bit, but that album came out right after I graduated high school and started college. So it was also one of those like, you know, I mean, pivotal albums, if you will, of
Yeah.
like transitioning into that college. You go from you think you're top of the world, and then you
You're
start
untouchable.
college and you're
Then
nothing,
you
right?
realize you're dumb.
Yeah. So
College. I joined the military.
yeah.
I did not
uh
have the grades for college. I joined the service.
yeah. Well, I mean, I didn't have the grades either, but I tried. But
Well, good job.
yeah. So, but yeah, that's what I'll say. Again,
Yes.
those 3 albums, any one of them could be my favorite, but that's a cop out, right? So
No, that's,
I'm gonna say What Separates Me From You. If you put a gun to my head and said you can only pick one, that's the one I'm going with.
I mean, that is a fantastic album. I'm not gonna lie. I can't argue that against that one at all. I Everyone is absolutely entitled to their opinion on what they think their best body of work is. And I'm not going to argue with people who go what separates me from you. I'm not going to argue with people who go homesick because homesick. changed the game, and they have some of their biggest songs on that record. I mean, Downfall of Us All, um, I'm Made of Wax, Larry, What Are You Made of? Oh, Mr. Highway's Thinking About the End.
Yeah.
Holy shit. Such a great song. Super fucking heavy. And then, of course, If It Means a Lot to You. I mean, that is a hell of a song. However, that is not my favorite album. And this, I don't know if this is going to surprise people. I don't know. I've already talked about it because it's more of a sentimental choice, I guess.
Sure.
While Homesick definitely kind of pulled me further into them and What Separates Me from You, definitely, dude, Second Sucks, All I Want, such great songs. I loved All I Want. I loved the video for All I Want. Such a great
I
video.
was gonna comment on that. The amount of bands that pop up in that music video.
Yes.
Yeah,
And Mike Herrera just like randomly showing up, which I absolutely love. Being a big MXPX fan,
absolutely.
that was fucking great.
Yeah.
Uh, for those who have heart, I love that album. Front to back, starting
Old.
off super old school, but come on, you got fast forward to 2012, the plot to bomb the panhandle. You should have killed me when you had the chance. Going with the deluxe version and getting Since You've Been Gone, which really threw me off hearing that for the first time.
Yeah.
In all honesty, I'd never listened to Kelly Clarkson before, so I thought this was an original. I didn't know it was a cover at first.
Yeah.
So uh, but I gotta go with For Those Who Have Heart. Just it is a sentimental choice. It is the first album I listened to by them. I think they have done probably better work since then. I think they've definitely stepped up their game after this album. But if I'm gonna go back and listen to an album, it's probably gonna be Homesick or it's gonna be this. It's
Yeah.
just
I think
then again, I'm in my 40s. I'm in that like prime nostalgia era right now. So
no, that's I mean, the way you said why you picked it makes 100% makes sense. What I was going to say to you is I think there is something to be said about the album that you fall in love with a band is typically going to be that album for you.
yeah.
Um, I was listening to one of the roundtable episodes you guys brought up thrice, and I know you and I talked about it a little bit too.
Yep.
So if I'm being objective, I actually think Visu is probably like Thrice's best album just because it has everything and you can see where they went with it. But The Artist in the Ambulance is the record that I fell in love with them. And I saw them on the 20-year tour and I was just like, this is the greatest album in the world. You know what I mean? Like that album is
That album stands up.
yeah.
Like absolutely. Like I am a bigger fan of their earlier work, but I will say The Artist in the Ambulance probably front to back is their best album, musically speaking. Like I saw them with it was in Portsmouth, it was the Get Up Kids, it was them, and it was Dashboard Confessional, which was just a really weird show to begin with. But having Thrice and him, they were still like really super heavy back then. But they played Stare at the Sun, and I was just like, oh my God, this is just something completely different. And such a great band live, but everything after that, I just kind of lost touch with. I mean, I am willing to give them another try. I think I already gave them another try and I didn't really like it again, but I'm willing to give them another try just for
It
shits and
happens.
giggles. They're one of those bands that I'll always probably try and go back to. Like, I need to like this because a lot of their early work I'm just a huge fan of. So,
That's who when Manchester Orchestra came out, like you actually mentioned Death Cab, and I was like, oh my gosh, you're right, because I never made that connection. The
yeah.
two bands I thought of was Thrice, and they reminded me a little bit of like early Radiohead. Um,
Okay.
but going back to like expectations, if you will, you
Yeah.
made really good points about bands needing to grow. So what the if there's one small gripe I have with Thrice, it's not that they like aren't heavy anymore. What annoys me about them, and this is more of a personal thing, like I'm a guitar player, so anytime bands come up with cool guitar stuff, like that's what I listen for.
Mhm.
So when you listen to like Illusion of Safety and Tepe is like ripping, and then you listen to their some of the newer stuff, and he like is basically just playing chords or picking through stuff. I it's not that I don't like it. It's like I want at least a song or two where you go back to ripping. And I get that there's a stylistic difference, right?
Yeah.
Like you're not going to have guys shredding doing like the whole indie rock thing, but there's still ways that I'm like I wish you would
You
just
can
go,
get creative
yes, I
with how
wish you
you
would
play.
show how talented you are in
Mhm.
this specific genre of music. Um,
100%.
is he's a ridiculous guitar player, absolutely ridiculous.
I agree wholeheartedly with that. So let us move on as we dwindle down and wrap up the episode with our top three songs. We start with three, we go to two, we go to one. Brandon, what's your number three?
Yeah. So I almost cheated and I was gonna
You
do
can have an honorable mention or two. That's fine with
well,
me.
what I was gonna say is I was gonna do a top three breakdown list and then a top three songs. Because what's funny is like you mentioned Mr. Highway. I think it's so funny that during COVID they became like a meme. I don't know if you saw any of that, like disinfect your surroundings, just people
Yeah,
spraying Lysol everywhere.
yeah.
I was like, this is, makes cleaning the house fun, if you will.
A
But
lot of it has become a meme, unfortunately.
yeah, yeah. I mean,
So
that was such a weird time. But yeah, so I struggled really hard with this. And I kept telling myself, like, it's only the top three for a podcast. If you change your mind later on, you change your mind. Like,
absolutely.
yeah.
You can it
So,
doesn't need to be like we so with the reissue we did when we did Burst and Decay, my top three completely changed except for one song, and even that song dropped from number one to number three. I mean, it that's one thing I like to tell people is that it's in this moment. This is
yeah,
your top three. Guess what? It's probably going to change tomorrow. It all depends how you're feeling in the moment. So
yeah. So I'm going to start with three. And that's All Signs Point to Lauderdale.
nice.
On what separates me from you, that is, um, dude, that is the catchiest song.
It
I
really
love,
fucking is.
I love how like it is a pop punk song, but they bring the metalcore element. It has the syncopated double kick drum with the bar chords, and then it has
Mm-hmm.
the little arpeggio guitars in between, and then it just builds, and then it has catchy chorus, catchy bridge, and then of course like the somebody's made this analogy in like one of the meme worlds, but they talk about how country music is all about like I'm from this small town, and pop punk is like get me out of this town.
I
And
hate this town.
yeah,
Like,
exactly, right. um, you know, there's a million bands that have done that.
yeah.
But going back to, I mentioned that was one of the albums I listened to a lot when I started college. That was exactly how I felt, right? Like
Yeah.
I'm starting a degree. I had no idea what I wanted to do. I just wanted to get out of the town, so to speak. So in a weird kind of sad way, if you will, that was very anthemic for me. But even like that was, I couldn't believe that was the last song they played when I saw them back in last fall. And
Oh, really?
it was weird that like I was surprised that that was a song they picked, but I was like, I mean, of course
Okay.
the crowd went crazy.
Of
So
course.
yeah, that's my number three.
Nice. Uh, going old. Two of the three on this are old, and that's the plot to bomb to Panhandle. First off, the video is just kind of weird. It's Ron Jeremy doing karate, which throws me off completely. Uh, but it's a great song. I love the beginning of it. I love the chorus. I just love the song. It's great. It's catchy. It's got its hard parts. Yeah, plot the boom, bomb the panhandle is my number three.
So without, I mean, obviously this is kind of like the first time you and I've ever talked. Obviously we've messaged back and
We've
forth.
messaged back and forth, but this is the first actual
Yeah,
conversation we're having.
I was 100% expecting you to pick Homesick and pick songs off of Home because again, that's like what most fans do.
Yeah.
So I was also planning on just piggybacking off of whatever you picked, and like the same thing I would say that the way that song starts off with the da, like almost it's a single note, but it's almost like yeah, like a chord.
Yeah,
So good, man. I mean, that's another thing. They were
absolutely.
definitely not the first band to use panic chords. I will always go back to like Botch and Converge on that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
But the first time hearing it in that sense, it was the first time I heard something like that, right?
yeah,
Um, just the way that thing kicks off, and then it almost like the transition to the chorus is almost like a completely different song, but it
it
worked.
is.
Yeah,
It works.
yeah. So,
What's number
uh,
two?
so number two is it's a deep cut. Um, And to me, it's almost like what a day to remember can do in terms of taking you on a ride. It has some of Jeremy's best lyrics, and it's like three songs in one. That is sometimes you're the hammer, sometimes you're the nail. The way that song starts off, he's in the studio, he's like humming it. He's tells the guys he's got the idea. It literally like everything that a day to remember is in that song. It has super catchy chorus, goes into this vicious breakdown, then it has this super catchy pre-chorus, goes into the chorus. Um, really really heavy breakdown probably halfway through the song, and then it goes into this almost like I hate to use the word emo, but it's a chill emo part, builds from there. um, Again, Jeremy like does a really good job of that song is so relatable. All signs point to Lauderdale's relatable. Everybody's wanted to get out of the town they were in. Sometimes you're the hammer, sometimes you're the nail. A lot of it dealing with people doubting you, people putting you down. Like there's some of the like you don't have to like me, you're going to respect me. Going in towards the end when he points out like uh, God help those who help themselves. You miss the
Yeah,
point. Like the lyrics of that song are so poignant. So yeah, but that song, like if somebody was like, what is a day to remember? Again,
point to that song.
yeah, it's gonna take you on that ride.
Nice. That is a great song. That really is. And my number two, it could easily be my number one at times. Um, but I will say, in the post homesick, you've done this. Now, what do you got? And that's something that, in the face of odds that are so high, the face of an expectations for what you can put out, especially the fact that it was Downfall of Us All. It was I'm Made of Wax, Larry. What are you made out of? Mr. Highway's Thinking About the End. All these killer tracks that they put together on Homesick. The expectations were so high for this band that the fact that their first single off of What Separates Me From You is All I Want,
Yeah,
and they cleared the bar with
yeah,
room to spare. They made anticipation, true anticipation for that next album, palpable with
yeah,
this song. And then you have the video where it's literally like every single band that's like in that kind of genre. And it felt like a unified,
did.
almost like a unified front of it's like this is a brotherhood. And then Pete Wentz and Mike Carrera for one reason or another, but that's besides the point. Um,
I think that, like, I could
good.
be wrong. I'm pretty sure that was for that year at Warp Tour. So I think that's where he got all the bands from. But you're 100% right. That's what it felt like was
Yeah.
everybody's here together.
So, but All I Want was such a great response to what Homesick was that it truly made me want to listen to more and it made anticipation for that next album. And what, like you said, that album cleared the bar easily. So I have to throw All I Want at my number two.
Yeah, I mean, dude, again, I could easily be in my top three. That song is so catchy, and despite the fact that I've listened to it a million times, it just never gets old. Um, they're sidebar. What a great band! I don't know if you work out or whatever. Like at work, if I have them on all the time because it just gets people going, especially if
Nice.
you do kind of a workout or whatever. But anyway, so ironically, I'm going to completely shift gears. And if any Date Remember fans see this, I'll probably piss them off. So my number one is completely out of left field. I'll go into the backstory before I tell you official. Well, I'll tell you what it is. So my number one is hang on, make sure I don't butcher this title here because I'm thinking of the lyric here. Um, but it's actually off of You're Welcome, so that's already I'm already in the doghouse, if you will. It's um Everything We Need, which is like I genuinely don't know how this song didn't end up on the radio. Um, so my the basically the backstory with this song is my wife gave me the CD for my birthday, and this
Mm,
came out. It was like March of 21. So this is COVID. Like the worst of COVID was over, but COVID was still a thing, right?
yeah.
And what you said about like um, couldn't get through the album, I also could not get through the album. And I remember commenting on a friend's post, being like, "Yo, the new A Day to Remember is garbage." And then my wife was like, I just gave you that. So she was, like almost offended. But that song specifically talks about, whatever's going on in your life, all you need is, the friends and family that you have is all you need. So coming out of COVID, I'm a first responder. So it was for everybody. Obviously, everybody had their own version of what COVID was. It was isolating to say the least, right?
Yeah.
So it was the longest I ever went without seeing family. Um, so my wife and I, we didn't have kids yet. My wife and I lived alone, and I want to say I can't remember the timeline. It was probably 6 to 7 months at least, maybe even longer, until we saw our families. Um, and coming from always seeing our family, it was a big adjustment, right? And I don't blame anybody, but because I'm a first responder, I was exposed every single day, right?
Yeah.
And then the way that the COVID testing is like it could take days for it to show up, right?
Yeah.
So everybody was like, "Hey, no offense, but we don't really want to be around you." Some people said that to me. Other people, like I could tell that was the vibe. And
I
then
got that.
there's also the personal side of it is like I don't want to get anybody sick, right?
Yeah.
So when that song came out, especially being on the backside of COVID, I was like, this song is perfectly encapsulates everything that I felt like I went through during that time. Like legitimately, I remember telling my wife, I was like, basically, all we have is each other because we didn't know when we were going to see family again. Um, like that's all we have is basically
Yeah.
each other. And then kind of like the cool thing is later on, when we did have kids, there's a lyric in the song, driving, a buck 20 down I-75 or I-70, whatever it is in Florida, which the last 3 or 4 years, we've gone down to Florida. My grandmother has like a timeshare down there.
Yeah.
So I also have driven probably faster than I should have down the road. And, it talks about
Yeah.
sometimes the best thing for a reset is just to drive and specifically listen to music, right? So again, that's the polar opposite of why I like A Day to Remember, but at the same time, it's the reason I like Day to Remember because like when that song came out, it was so polar opposite of what I was expecting, and like whether or not you like pop soft music, that song is catchy. I genuinely cannot believe it didn't end up on the radio. I've seen them 3 or 4 times. I've never seen them play it. I was surprised it didn't really catch on. I know they have obviously other
Yeah.
ballads to play, but that's the backstory on why that song, that why I picked it to be number one.
Honestly, any song that, and that's the thing, it being your number one song, it doesn't mean it's the best song that's ever been played or ever been written by this band. Trust me, my number one, I'm sure there are better songs. I'm 100% positive there are better songs, but every song there's a reason it's your number one. There's a reason why a song connects to you. And it's why everyone has a different favorite song, the majority of people, unless they just are like, oh, I heard it on the radio. This is my favorite song because I don't want to have to listen to other songs. Um, Similar to you, while similar in just the sense that my number one is a sentimental choice. It is one that connected with me, but surprisingly enough, and I surprised myself when I put this list together because I was expecting to, for it to be heavy on Homesick. I really was because that album, just front to back, there's just banger after fucking banger on it. But then when I was done with the list, I looked at it and I was like, there's not a single song from Homesick. There's only one song from What Separates Me from You. And there's nothing after What Separates Me from You because the reason I fell in love with this band was because of my friend Joey. And it was that ride up to Philly. And it was You Should Have Killed Me When You Had the Chance. That made me realize just how good of a band this is and just where this band could go. And that's probably why that is my number one. Ask me tomorrow, it might change. But there's a reason this band is as good as they are. And I think All I Want Maybe will be the only song that would ever truly remain in the top three. God knows what it's going to be tomorrow. But for now, for this moment in time, shout out to Joey King. Buddy, I miss you. I hope you're doing well. Um, you should have killed me when you had the chance. That is a straight banger
Banger.
and
It is.
love it.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, that is the end of this episode of First, Last, and Best. Don't be shocked if Brandon comes back. We already have a list of bands that he wants to talk about. So he will be back. Brandon, thank you for coming on the show, man. Truly, this was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed having you on. Uh, Truly, truly appreciate your time and coming on and talking to me about this. Um, what is next week going to have? I don't know. I really have no clue. Hopefully, I have a band you should know episode. Just waiting on a date to record with the band. So I'm hoping we'll put that together. I got another roundtable episode with Jeff Collin and Angle coming up. Um, Maybe we'll talk Get Up Kids with Angle. I have no clue. I am flying by the seat of my pants here. All right. I had this great idea and this great plan for this month. It all fell apart. This is like throwing stuff together and duct taping it and hoping that it stays up. So we'll see what happens next week, guys. Maybe we'll have an episode, maybe we won't. God only knows. Brandon, once again, thank you again for coming on. We'll see you guys next week.